What is going down, everybody? We got Jason Aponte, Brad Graham in the building. It's not state of the franchise, it's state of the Deebo Samuels. We got Deebo Samuel back in the building today. If you've been living under a rock, you might not know that Deebo Samuel signed his contract extension yesterday. So that means he was at training camp today. Jason, how was it seeing Deebo lining up out there, pads on and everything?
Electric. You could definitely feel there was a different vibe today because of that. Everybody was excited, got there early. The place was absolutely jam packed. Not sure if that's the case without Debo coming in and first day of pads, but man, that place was packed like it was on the weekend. People called out of work so they can come in and see Debo Samuel and see this team get into pads. So it's an exciting time for everybody. Everybody feels like they just took a collective sigh of relief, and they could just get back to evaluating this team and Trey Lance going forward.
Absolutely. What did you see from Debo with his first day back? Did you feel like they kind of eased him into action? What was your kind of overall thought process on seeing Debo out there?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a smart thing to do. I mean, why would you just ramp him up right away and just go, hey, man, get in there, take all the snaps? And I think they've kind of been doing that with everybody. There's some times where you see Ayuk with the first team, you might see him with the second team, you might see Ray McLeod. So, I mean, I think at this point, that's a smart thing to do is you ease him in. When Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey came back from, their time off, it wasn't like when they throw him right in the fire. Just give him a few reps, get him in, and just ease them in. We got a lot of time with training camp, focused on the bigger picture more than anything.
Absolutely. I'm going to kick it over to you, Jason. What do you want to talk about to start off today's episode? Obviously, we were watching the team period, lots of pads. We got one-on-ones. We got all different kinds of stuff. What do you want to start out with today?
One-on-ones was really good. You know what I want to start off with, because I've been such a, I guess, whatever naysayer, whatever it is. Talanoa Hufanga was
detractor.
Yeah, a little bit. Talanoa Hufanga was clamps on Ross Dwelly. Like, PBU interception, almost felt like he was lock and step and knowing what he wanted to do. Like, he, again, playing with instinct, playing fast. I was really, really impressed with his one-on-one reps on the field closest to us against Ross Dwelly. That could be a huge deal because it does seem like they are going to allow him to hang out closer to the line of scrimmage, play that role. So he's going to have to guard tight ends in that way. And it was really good to see his route recognition and being able to cut that off before it starts.
Yeah, dude, Hufanga was balling today.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun to see. It was like we were talking about it. It was like he was running the route for the tight end. It was like he knew exactly what was coming. He was right in phase, playing proper leverage, and he was making breaks on the ball almost faster than the tight ends. It was really fun to see. One of my favorite plays from one-on-ones, Kyle Juszczyk, baby. The fullback
Always.
needs some more love. He had this really nice catch at the corner pylon in the one-on-one situation. I forget who was throwing it to him, but he threw it to only where Juice could get it. It looked like he was going to kind of bobble it, but then he somehow brought it in and got the catch. And it's really fun to see. I feel like we need to get Juice a couple more receptions, maybe even a carry here or two. What do you think?
Always. And these are some of the things we were saying last year. I mean, when he would beat Fred Warner in coverage, and then he did it at the open practice for everybody in the stadium. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk is utilized properly in the run game, but underutilized with some of the matchup problems he can cause, I believe, as well, too. So, I mean, if you're going to use him and you should throw him a few more routes, man. Like, especially if tight end gets a little thin, like, get him out there, spread him out, like run him on things that are outside of league. It seems like he has good short area quickness where, when he gets off the line, he's able to stack his defender and go by him. And, I mean, he continues to do that.
Absolutely. Another rep that I really liked was Fred Warner versus Elijah Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even let Elijah Mitchell run the route. The quarterback didn't even throw it because that's
Mm-hmm.
how dominant Fred Warner was on the coverage of that particular route. And he got pissed. He's like, throw me the ball so I get the interception. And the quarterback was like, nah, you destroyed Elijah Mitchell's route to the point where, we always know about practice. They want the quarterback to throw because they don't want it to be a wasted rep. But that's just how clamps Fred Warner was on this particular one-on-one. The quarterback was like, there's no point because you stopped Elijah Mitchell on the route. And Fred was like, come on, give me my pick, man. Anything else you saw from one-on-ones that stood out?
Elijah Mitchell made a really nice catch on a good route on Azeez Al-Shaair as well, too. I mean, set him up with on a choice route. You know who runs really good routes? JaMycal Hasty, too. Like, he was getting himself open. So I'll at least say that about him. He looked like very quick, and he's really good at those choice routes.
speaking of running backs, can we talk about Jordan Mason a little bit?
Oh,
Because
is Justin
we've
listening?
Justin, wake up, baby. Jordan Mason time. Because we've talked about Jordan Mason quite a bit. You know, our good friend Jordan Elliott wrote and did a great interview with his head coach talking about the things that he's good at. So there's been a little bit of this buzz around undrafted free agent Jordan Mason out of Georgia Tech heading into training camp. From what we saw without pads, he looked really good. From everything we've heard from the coaching staff, including Anthony Lynn, what did they talk about? They're like, "Oh, well, wait till the pads come on." Well, today was the first day of pads, ladies and gentlemen, and we started to see the kind of which running backs emerged. Jordan Mason looked really good in between the tackles with his cutting ability, his reading ability. But I think what is impressing me the most about Jordan Mason is his ability to catch out of the backfield, and not only just catch like balls in the flat, but he's running routes, catching balls over the middle of the field, catching balls towards the sideline. Jordan Mason looks really good out there.
Absolutely. He caught a pass from Brock Purdy over the middle of the field, and he looked like he had nothing but green grass in front of him, had good burst. I know it's easy to say things, day 4, whatever it is, day 5, but I mean, if he continues this way, I don't see how he doesn't make this team. He's just been playing very well, and he looks explosive. Most of the time when you see a running back off a good run, you look up and you say, hey, who is that? It's 41. So, yeah, Mason's making his presence known, man, and in different ways. I was shocked a little bit about that catch today, but it was really nice.
Yeah, it feels like he has just like that really nice balance of being able to kind of like run behind his pads. He has that really good forward lean, and he's able to do a lot with it. So it's going to be an interesting conversation because obviously you have Elijah Mitchell, who's probably the clubhouse leader for the number 1 running back, but then Jeff Wilson, JaMychal Hasty, Trey Sermon kind of had an ugly drop today
He
in
had a drop that
one-on-ones.
he knew it too, and it
Yeah,
was a good route. It was a
about
good
it.
route, but when you're fighting for your position, like those little things are they're gonna eat at you, and he knows what kind of time he's on right now.
So it feels like we got a sneaky little running back competition going on with Jordan Mason because I think he's going to push for a spot. I mean, we've talked about it before, thinking that he could make a roster spot. I mean, with each and every day that practice continues on, he continues to show flashes, and he really does seem like a guy that can make the roster. Any other guys that you've been kind of keeping your eye on that could potentially crack the roster that you've seen kind of maybe stand out today?
Not really. I mean, today felt like with pads because they were so far on the other side of the field that it was really hard to figure out what was going on, and the normal things stand out. Nick Bosa is really good. Charvarius Ward continues to make plays. Trey was actually really good on his touchdown run. Ayuk had a really good day today. So I mean, it's kind of the same constants, but it's just, again, don't get wrapped up too much in the numbers. It's the progression that you want to see day to day. Like, keep stacking your good days and keep on moving that way. Like, you can't get wrapped up on 5 of 13, whatever it is. How many of those are pass breakups? How many of those are throwaways? How many of those are just outright sacks? So it's hard to just throw a number out there like, hey, 5 for 13. This is what he did, and then people go all crazy about it. But it's just another good day today. He stacked another good day on top of another good day. That's all that matters.
It does feel like when you're looking at stats, I mean, we can reference stats after a game and be like, oh, this guy had 1 catch for 13 yards, wasn't involved, or this guy was 14 for 32, under 200 yards, and you look at the stat line and you're like, yeah, that looks like it translates to not a very good day. But when it comes to practice, right, like you kind of got to take those stats with a grain of salt, right? Because it's based on situation. We see that red zone periods where they're running continuous red zone plays, they're running midfield situation. It all depends on kind of what is being asked of the group. So it is really hard to just look at those stats and be like, oh, 5 for 13 today from Trey Lance? Like, oh, he had a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think Trey Lance had a pretty good day today, if you ask me. What did you think?
Yeah, and that's what I mean is you have to contextualize those attempts. Are they thrown off, or were they just like bad misses? No. I mean, how many of them was him getting out of the pocket, having nowhere to go, and just throwing it away and getting it out of harm's way, which is what you want to see. And yes, you have the interception in the red zone, but Charvarius Ward is just, he's been lights out, man. It's almost like not only am I covering, but don't test me. I will take the ball away as well too. And I think that's something that's really important because you can have clamps coverage, but taking the ball away is really important as well too. So that's something the 49ers kind of need, again, to change momentum and change field position quickly.
Absolutely. Shout out Ryan for the super chat. Appreciate the kind words. We're doing our best to get you guys the best coverage of training camp. Let's stick with Trey Lance a little bit because you talked about the interception to Charvarius Ward, and what do you think? Are you seeing like these interceptions from Trey Lance, and are you just like, oh no, or are you just like par for the course? Like, what is your thought when you see an interception?
This one wasn't so bad. Like this one was just it was, again, he tried to fit it in a tight window. Ward is just very sticky. You never find him too far from his guy. He just made a play on the ball, man. Like you got to tip your hat to the guy who has been the best player probably the entire camp thus far, and he's just been very good. Honestly, that one didn't bother me nearly as much as the Jimmy Ward interception or the Fred Warner interception, where it's like, okay, there's a guy that we used to be here that kind of makes those same kind of throws. It's like, I thought we were moving on from that. But, like with this one, I felt like he was just trying to make a play. And yeah, the time to try to fit that ball in there is in practice, not during the game.
And I think my favorite thing about Trey Lance after what is this day 5 now of training camp for us as, people who've been able to be in the stands and get our eyes on practice. I think one of my favorite things about Trey Lance is when he makes a mistake, he doesn't like go into a shell or he doesn't like fall back or start getting erratic and start getting worse. He keeps dealing, right? Like
he went right back.
You talk about the pick to Charvarius Ward. If I'm not mistaken in the order of operation, he comes back to Brandon Ayuk and throws a dart for a touchdown over Charvarius Ward. And so you're starting to see a lot of Charvarius Ward and Brandon Ayuk. But what I'm really liking about Trey Lance is if he is making a mistake or does throw an interception, I don't see any shift in body language. I don't see any shift in the way his play progresses. It feels like sometimes, there's a lot made about Jimmy Garoppolo when he made an interception, what he would do the following drive. And he had a lot of success after making mistakes, and we can look at Jimmy and we can point to him, putting the 49ers on a hole, but also look at him and getting him out of the hole. So I think one of the things with Trey that I'm most impressed is if he makes a mistake, he doesn't hang his head and he just keeps dealing. And I think today we had a really nice situation where he threw the interception to Charvarius, then comes right back to Ayuk, throws a touchdown on Charvarius. So feels like Trey's in a good spot.
Yeah, and you like to see that, right? You like to see that. But then again, here, this is me playing devil's advocate real quick. There's some guys that, you see them, they hang their head and you're like, oh man, he's taking it a little bit too hard. But then he comes right back and he goes and he balls out the next drive. Then there's a guy that's like smiling on the sideline. And if he comes out and balls on the next drive, I don't really care how you take it. People deal with things differently, right? Like, so that's why, like, I never really got the narrative of like Jimmy doesn't care. No, it's just the way he deals with things. Like some guys take things really hard. They send coolers like flying. Some guys sit there. They calm themselves down. They get calm. They get to their happy place and they go again. So there was no real cookie cutter way to bounce back. But Trey definitely does that. Like he's not afraid. He's not gun shy right after that. So like that is a good point.
Absolutely. Gammon Browns talking to Ryan said, you are great as well. Keep it up. We also got 49er George saying laundry room vibes. You know what the deal is.
I could have sat on the other side, but it felt good to be here. I think I need to stay here and keep the meme going.
This is definitely the spot for Jason right there in the laundry room. What other takeaways from padded practice? Let's kind of go and stick on the defensive side. Actually, no. Before we go to the defensive side, let's talk about the probably the best throw from Trey Lance on the day. What did you see from Trey on that particular throw?
Man, I'm sure you guys will see it in a bit on 49ers.com. They'll probably post it. But it was a 9 straight down the sideline. Beautiful ball right in there. You didn't have to do much to go get it, anything like that. But best play of the day. I mean, just exactly what you want to see from the kid. That rapport is building. Ayuk is stacking days now. Ayuk is starting to stand out now. And I think that going against Charvarius Ward every day really helping him out because he's going to run into a few quarterbacks of his ilk. So, yeah, it was a beautiful throw, man. It's exactly what you want to see. And you guys will get hyped when you see the video when they put it out. So.
I mean, like Jason said earlier, they were on the far field, so we were pretty far away. And I'm not going to lie, it was difficult to kind of see the smaller nuances of things because, I mean, we were probably a solid 80, 85,
90
90 yards
yards,
away.
easy.
So we were pretty far away, but on that particular play, you could see the kind of pocket around Trey, but then you could also see it kind of collapsing around Trey, at least from what I saw. So how I interpreted the play going down was there was pressure coming down on Trey, and he was able to stand straight in the pocket. Is probably one of the most confident throws I've seen of Trey, maybe since he's had a 49er jersey on going back to last year. Just standing in there, it felt like he had pressure coming towards his right side, and he just let it rip. He had a beautiful moon ball, solid 40 yards downfield, right in the hands of Brandon Ayuk. It was a really nice pass. It was the whole sequence was really nice because it's not like it didn't feel like he had an ultra clean pocket. It felt like the pocket was starting to collapse on him. And sometimes you see guys, they'll maybe like stutter a little bit, maybe they'll pause. He did not pause. He let that thing rip, and it was a beautiful catch, by the way. It was really nice.
Yeah, and for all the bumps and bruises that you're gonna see for sure, not forget practice. We're talking about in the games. Those are the type of things that you're gonna see as well too. So again, you have to learn to live with both. You have to understand that it's a day by day process. You have to understand that it's gonna be a year by year process to figure out where Trey's going to be. But you are gonna get those throws, and I think that's what everybody's excited about, and they should be, rightfully so.
Definitely. Let's switch gears. Let's go to the defense a little bit. It really does feel like we're looking at one of the best defenses in the NFL every day of practice. What are pick something that stands out to you?
Run defense today. I mean, it was insane. I mean, it was very hard. Like there was very few good runs today. I mean, TDP had one where he was absolutely like stuffed. Same thing with Trey Sermon and Fred Warner was flying around. So the run defense is just the same. And Kinlaw didn't even really play today. So it was Kevin Givens in the middle. I think that was starting with Keith
Little
Denard.
Kerry Hyder too.
Yeah, Kerry Hyder was actually inside too. That's a really good call, Brad. I forgot about that. Darquise Denard was first up with the nickel corner at the nickel corner spot, but it was business as usual with the run defense, man. They were really tough. So, like again, it's hard to evaluate the running backs and say, man, well, I don't know where they're at, but look what they're facing, and the running defense is just where it was last year already.
So did Ebukam practice today? He practiced today, right?
He was out with the first team, going through the first part of warmups. Didn't really see him too much, but I mean, it was really Fred Warner, man. Like he was just all over the place making plays today.
Absolutely. I thought two things that I got in my notes that I thought was really interesting. From the first start of the initial team period, you had Nick Bosa. I think you mentioned it was Givens and it was Hyder on the interior.
Mm-hmm.
Omenahue started opposite of Bosa. Just the first ones out with that group. I thought that was interesting. Then in the second group of team period, or the second team period, it was Bosa, I believe, Givens, Hyder, and then Drake Jackson. What have you seen from Drake Jackson so far?
Coming along, and for sure, I thought that right off the bat he would be just a passing down specialist, a la D Ford, in that way, and he had to work on some things and run, but he's pushing up there, and I think that's a good sign. If they want to keep him on the first team reps, that's fine, and I think that that's eventually the goal. But to have this be a discussion, especially when you consider how well Ebukam played down the stretch last year and in the playoffs, to have this even be a discussion, I think it's a good problem to have. So I wouldn't sit there and say, hey, Ebukam's falling off. No, I mean, Drake Jackson's supposed to be really good. That's what they want him to do, and might be happening a little bit sooner than we thought.
And also, too, we know Chris. He's going to rotate the dogs.
Oh yeah,
I don't look at anything on the defensive line as definitive other than Nick Bosa. Feels like everyone else could be rotated at any time. We've seen guys again. I think we've started to see even Omenahue on the inside at times. Again, Kerry Hyder we think of as an edge. He's on the inside. Robert Kimdichie is continuing to really look like he's going to fill in for that Maurice Hurst role that he was having a nice camp before he went out for the year with the torn bicep. So, but in regards to Drake Jackson, I am pretty impressed because I'm not going to lie. I watched some of the tape and you see the raw tools and intangibles and traits that he has, but he did look a little raw from a polish standpoint. But so far in training camp, I've been pretty damn impressed with Drake Jackson. I feel like He's made a couple plays. He would have had a couple would-be sacks. He is around the quarterback often. I think Drake Jackson is turning out to be a great player for the 49ers. And maybe Chris Kosarek was all he needed to kind of fine-tune, because we know the book on Drake Jackson. I think he had multiple defensive coordinators at USC. He played multiple positions. He was fluctuating weight because of position. Feels like they know exactly what he is. He's going to be an defensive end in this wide-eyed scheme. And it feels like he's found a home where the 49ers, again, even though they are injured right now, no Eric Armstead, Maurice Hurst goes down, Hassan Ridgeway is out. Their defensive line is still attacking, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, everybody wants to compare them to 2019. I don't think you're going to be able to reach those heights because of the top end level of just a Buckner, Armstead, Bosa, and D Ford. But in terms of depth, I don't really think it's too close. I mean, like, especially when you consider how they were winning down the stretch. So, yeah, I mean, sure, if one guy goes down, it's not something that you can easily replace, but they're prepared with the depth, and that's why they continue to just invest in this defensive line, because they know that Chris Kosar can get it done.
Absolutely. I see some people asking about the offensive line, so I'll start with this one. The offensive line unit continues to shuffle like crazy. So today we had typically seen because Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey will go in at left tackle and right tackle, right? And then every other rotation when it comes to the starters, they're out. So it's like they're taking every other first team grouping out. It's been typically Colton McKivitz at the left tackle and Jalen Moore at the right tackle. This time it was Justin School at the left tackle, and Colton McKivitz went down to right guard. And I found that to be very interesting. You still have Daniel Brunskill and Jake Brendel on the same exact rotation with splitting reps. So my biggest takeaway from the offensive line, again, we were so far away. It was really hard to see the small nuances. But one of the cool things from Mike McGlinchey that I'm seeing is we got to see him go against Nick Bosa. And it's like 2 days in a row. It feels like maybe you're getting Mike McGlinchey back from a torn tendon in his quad, and you'd maybe put like a Kerry Hyder out there. 49ers are like, no, we're going to put Nick Bosa against Mike McGlinchey. And Mike's been holding his own. Now, it's Nick Bosa, so Nick Bosa is getting some wins against Mike. But Mike is also doing a really good job combating Nick Bosa. He's getting some reps won on his end, too. I'm really pleased with Mike. Yeah, I got to see a couple reps of him in run blocking as well today, and he just looks better. At 305, I feel like he's found a good weight for him because, again, he played at 320 last year. I feel like Mike McGlinchey's in a good spot. So I think the biggest thing with the offensive line right now is just continuity, because they're having this continual, just change of groupings, and it's not consistent from one to the next. So I think there's going to be some time, but I think so far it's looked okay. What have you thought about the offensive line so far?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the two constants, like you said, are both tackles. But again, one guy is the best. He doesn't even need reps; just get him ready for game one. The other guy's coming off an injury, who badly needs these reps, who badly needs to get back into shape, and who better to go against than Nick Bosa, who actually terrorized Jalen Moore when he was in with the second team reps when he was in there. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard again it's first day of pads. It's a guy coming off of a serious, severe injury that he's working his way back from. So we're not going to know for a little while. But, yeah, I mean, I do notice a little improvement by little improvement. I nearly wasn't as high on McGlinchey's day as Brad was. Brad was probably watching him more, but at times I could see him getting beat. And I'm just like, well, that's just Bosa. But, again, if he's progressing, again, stacking days, getting better and better while he gets his strength back, then that's good news, because here's the other good news. He won't have to face Nick Bosa when you actually start playing games, because he actually plays for the 49ers. So.
Absolutely. And I've seen some people ask questions about Banks and Burford. I saw a couple plays of Burford where he did a good job of getting to the second level. There's Elijah Mitchell run where he ran right off his hip. Burford got to the second level, made a block on the linebacker. I thought it was a nice progression from him. Aaron Banks, he plays left guard, so kind of on the vantage point that we were at sometimes, it was really hard to kind of see. But I imagine we're going to get a great look at the offensive line tomorrow when they move on closer to us. They're going to be on the close field. So I'm very excited to keep watching the O-line. Again, I think the biggest issue right now is just continuity. They don't have a starting offensive line because, again, the probably two of the best offensive linemen that they have right now are Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey, and they only play every first team grouping. So, and then you have a constant switch at center. So there's a lot of moving parts on the offensive line. I will always preach continuity is going to help you on the offensive line. So I think they're a work in progress, but once they start to settle in, I think we'll see a little bit better out of that offensive line. Gammon says, shout out to all the hard-working mods as the bots come crashing in, keeping these places as neat and tidy as Jason Aponte's laundry room. Jason's hype videos him folding clothes.
Should get a load of me in my own house, man. I'll make it look easy.
So we saw from while we were at camp, the 49ers, we had these questions before and we talked about it. Deebo Samuel, what's his role going to look like in this offense? Is it going to be just as a wide receiver? Is there going to be some wide back stipulations? I think we saw from Adam Schefter that the 49ers actually have an incentive built into his contract based on rushing touchdowns and yards and attempts, I believe. Do you think we're going to see a little bit more of Deebo Samuel coming back as the wide back, kind of in that role that we've come to know him as? Or what do you think the continued maturation process for Deebo Samuel looks like?
I mean, sure, they'll try it early on, but if somebody goes down in the injury and, with an injury or something like that, and it starts to become more push come to shove like it was later on in the year with Deebo, I think that you put all those incentives in there for that reason. If he does start to get used that way, he should be compensated that way. And I think that it's a very smart thing. I think that when people heard about him complaining about usage, they kind of thought about it the wrong way. And it's more about, well, I do so much, I should be compensated for it. It wouldn't necessarily say, I mean, I would think that he would want it to be a little bit less because 10 up the middle runs, it's going to wear you down on top of all the hits that he plays because he plays so physical. But I think I just want to be paid properly for it. So they put something in there for rushing yards, touchdowns, things like that. So if push comes to shove, let's just say, God forbid, one or two of these running backs goes down, you always have that in your back pocket that you can go back to with Deebo Samuel. So yeah, it's a good thing for both sides, and I think that was kind of something that they were hung up on, but it wasn't for necessarily the reason people thought.
Absolutely. Anything else that stood out from you today's camp, offense, defense?
Look at my notes real quick. Not really. I mean, everything else is just like I see a lot of run stuff. Some I think like pressure the entire time. Dante Johnson, PBU in the red zone. Wake up, honey. Another good one. George Kittle, one-on-one on Tarvarius Moore, put a nice little move on him to get open in the red zone period. Scored a touchdown. You always want to see those type of things. So I mean, with the defense, you're going to start to see a little bit more of that 3 safety look, like a little bit more Tarvarius Moore, who's actually moving very well for somebody who hasn't played in a while. So I think the 49ers are going to throw a bunch of exotic looks, do different things on defense. I think DeMeco Ryans has the personnel now to really play around and get exotic with what he wants to do, as opposed to just playing to his personnel strengths. Like now he can play to their strengths and really mess with offensive coordinators and quarterbacks. Tall task when you're going to be facing this defense.
I know it was the first day of pads, so do you feel like it was kind of like a ramp up day?
Today was an easy day. Today was a very easy day. I mean, even with Trey, like it was just 1 or 2, 3 snaps. All right, get him out. Like, and then Sudfeld, then Purdy, and then, before we knew it, boom, the horn is gone and they're back to just working out. Boom, the horn's back on. They come in. I felt like today was just, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here healthy. Let's just get out of here healthy and in one piece, have no injuries, anything like that. Jordan Matthews kind of was messing with his ankle, I believe, after one of his one-on-ones. Don't know the severity of that.
He kind of came up gimping a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, I mean, I think there was just a clear, conscious thought that, okay, everything's good. We got Deebo back. We're in pads. Let's not push it too far. Let's get everybody ramped up. I think that was the vibe for the entire practice.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that with the offense too. Like we're not seeing a ton of exotics totally out of the 49ers offense. Like we're not really seeing zone read. And I keep coming back to last year. I look at my notes and it was just Trey Lance zone read, keeper, Trey Lance zone read, keeper, Trey Lance zone read, keeper. I don't think they're doing it because they know what they got, right? And he knows how to run it. And so just
And
feels like they're trying to work on the other things.
And Kyle's got those ushers working overtime, making sure that nobody's recording or anything like that too. So I mean, he's trying not to give anything away in training camp that we could start tweeting around. Like last year, I tweeted about the triple option that they were running, and everybody was like, "You need to delete this, fam." Like, so he's being super secretive. He's definitely got those ushers are working overtime, making sure that phone is not up like during those periods at all.
Absolutely. Shout out the ushers. They're doing a phenomenal job making sure
he
that
had it with me. He had it with me, man. He was sick with me, man.
He identified us quickly as going to be the live tweeters.
It was him and somebody else. There was a guy with glasses that came up behind him, and he was just like looking, and I was like, Brad, I was like, they're gonna get us, man. Like they literally wanted us to walk away from everything and go outside and then tweet and then come back in. Like if they saw, I'm texting somebody, and he's like, I don't care, put it away, man. I was like, damn. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I was just looking at my phone one time, and he's like, "Hey, put the phone down." I was like, "Hey, okay, yeah, you're doing your job."
That guy with the glasses really turned it up to 10. I was like, "Okay, they mean business, man." I was like, "They got two guys watching us, man. We're menaces. They're never gonna let us back, Brad."
I know they're never gonna let us back, but we're gonna somehow keep finding a way. But today, like we talked about, today's practice felt like a warm up, like not a warm up, but a ramp up. They're still doing what they need to do out there. They look like they were able to escape without any serious injuries. But again, we thought that the other day, and then it came out that Maurice Hurst got hurt. So we'll continue to take it day by day. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan will come out and talk to the media probably again before practice. But you and we will be back tomorrow. Anything that you're going to be looking out, trying to identify for tomorrow's practice. As they get ready for day 2 of pads.
It's just gonna be bittersweet. My last practice, and then I gotta run to the airport at night. I'll be able to do some content, but last day of practice, last day hanging out with you guys, very bittersweet, man. I guess I gotta make everything. I gotta do everything tonight, right? Like once I'm done here, once I get the content done, like I gotta go crazy tonight and show up tomorrow.
You gotta
and,
make
classes.
sure you go to Yard House tonight. You gotta
man. I'm not putting them on blast, but we're not doing that for a different reason. But tomorrow, definitely looking to get more answers about the offensive line. Definitely looking to figure out the rotations on the defensive line and things like that. Can't wait to watch Mr. Snowski again. Like that's always a treat. That's a little humor thrown in there. But the running back room, I kind of want to see it shake out a little bit more. I want to see who's actually going to, separate and get closer to Elijah Mitchell. So we're going to find out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Going to see if they can open up the offense a little more. We'll find out, see if the speed ramps up. Again, Deebo Samuel today pretty much ran with the twos, right? He really didn't run with Trey a whole lot. He got a pass today, I think, in team period, but it was from Sudfeld. So maybe we'll get Deebo Samuel running with the ones tomorrow. Maybe a little.
There was a tutty too, I think, from Lance
in red zone period.
Yeah, that where he caught it, he was getting wrapped up, and he kind of just. Or am I thinking of the one that Kittle?
I think that one. I know Kittle reached over. I know there was one similar to Deebo. I personally didn't call that a touchdown, but I don't know.
Well, the Kittle one definitely
it's really hard to see from where we were.
No, the Kittle one's definitely tutty. The ref was like,
yeah, I saw that one.
Good. Yeah.
Which was a nice play. He was able to get the ball over the line of scrimmage. But I think the same thing remains. We're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to get a lot closer to the offense this time. It doesn't sound like we'll be able to be live tweeting play-by-play, but we will continue to take our notes, and we will be back tomorrow, Jason. Looking forward to it. Anything else you want to end on? Anything you want to pump up? Tell the good people where to find more of your content.
Yeah, right here on Twitter. That's where you can find me trying to live tweet it without getting yelled at or anything like that. YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell on both channels. It'll help us out a great deal. We'll continue to do these lives, and I'll be tapped in with Brad for State of the Franchise, but I'm going to be going off his notes because unfortunately I have to get back to the East Coast. I can't just be out here in California just hanging out with you guys with all this fresh air and beautiful stuff, even though it's rained the last 2
today.
Yeah, it's rained the last 2 days. And like, if I want to get rained down, I'll just stay in Jersey, man. Like what are we even doing here at this point? But yeah, everything. Make sure you guys follow that and subscribe to Sprint Right Option Podcast wherever you guys get your audio podcasts and Niners Nation podcast. Hey there with Leo Luna.
Absolutely. So keep tapped in with both of us. You guys know we're going to continue bringing 49ers coverage around the clock, and it's going to be a good time. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Jason. Unfortunately, your last day in the Bay, but we got to make it a good one, send you out on a good note. Hopefully we get some Trey Lance dimes. We get some baller plays from the defense, all that good stuff. Appreciate everyone tapping in. Make sure you smash that like button on your way out. Sub to both channels. And don't forget, hit that noti bell. We will be back again Wednesday with more content. Tuesday with more content. Every day with more content. You know the vibes around here. We're always working. Appreciate everyone for tapping in. We're out of here. Peace.